Power can break bones. It can shatter records and dominate an era, but can it break a man's spirit? At SummerSlam 2024, this very question echoed through a sold-out stadium as Bron Breakker, a monster forged from pure power and ambition, set out to dismantle the Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn. What followed was not just a match for a title, but an unforgettable war that tested the very definition of a champion. This is the story of how the heart of an underdog stood against the might of a titan. The collision of two worlds. The stage was Cleveland, Ohio, and the atmosphere was electric, yet thick with a palpable tension. This contest was a philosophical crossroads. On one side stood Sami Zayn, the underdog from the underground. He was the embodiment of perseverance, a man whose entire career was built on grit, heart, and an unbreakable bond with the audience. His Intercontinental Championship wasn't merely a belt. It was a symbol of hope for every person ever told they weren't big enough, strong enough, or good enough. A victory for Sami was a victory for the people. On the other side stood Bron Breakker, a walking, talking instrument of destruction. A scion of wrestling royalty, Breakker was a generational athlete whose veins coursed with power and aggression. Since his debut on the main roster, he had carved a path of pure carnage, leaving a trail of broken superstars in his wake. His sights were set on the Intercontinental title not just as an accolade, but as a declaration of dominance, a way to prove that the new era of raw power would eclipse the old guard of technical prowess and heart. The feud was brutally simple. Breakker had earned his title shot through sheer annihilation, dismantling opponent after opponent with his devastating spear and military press power slam. He derided Sami as a paper champion, a relic living on borrowed time. Sami, with his characteristic fire, accepted the challenge not just as a competitor, but as a guardian. "This belt is more than iron and leather," he proclaimed. "It's about honor, it's about prestige, and I will not hand it over to someone who only understands the language of destruction." And so, on that hot August night at SummerSlam, the story was written. It was heart versus might, experience versus youth, a beloved hero versus a ruthless conqueror. Number 1. The Fury of the Storm. The moment the bell rang, the match's brutal narrative was immediately established. Bron Breakker exploded from his corner like a caged animal set free, charging at Sami with unbridled ferocity. He gave Sami no room to breathe, no time to strategize. In the opening second, a cataclysmic clothesline sent Sami flipping through the air, and he crashed to the canvas like a discarded marionette. A hush fell over the arena as thousands collectively held their breath. Breakker toyed with Sami, tossing him from one corner to the other with contemptuous ease. The sickening thud of each slam and suplex echoed throughout the venue. A savage smirk was plastered on Breakker's face. He was savoring the demolition. He threw Sami to the outside and sent him crashing into the barricade. The referee's count and warnings were nothing but background noise to him. Sami Zayn, renowned for his resilience, looked utterly helpless. Every attempt to rise was met with another overwhelming power move that sent him back to the mat. Breakker hit his signature Steiner line, and Sami's eyes glazed over. The commentary team spoke in somber tones, suggesting Sami had no answer for this overwhelming force. The first 10 minutes of the match were a showcase of pure, one-sided dominance. Breakker hoisted Sami onto his shoulders, positioning him for the military press power slam, the finisher that had ended so many careers. The entire stadium knew that if this move connected, the match was over. Breakker pressed him high, but at the last possible second, Sami's veteran instincts took over. He rained down punches on Breakker's head, managing to squirm free. It was the first sign of life from the champion. But the reprieve was short-lived. An enraged Breakker charged and hit a spear with such force that Sami was nearly driven through the turnbuckles. Breakker made the cover. 102, and somehow ... Sami got a shoulder up. A jolt of electricity shot through the crowd. They had a glimmer of hope, but Breakker was incensed. He couldn't believe Sami had kicked out. In his mind, the match was no longer about winning. It was about ending Sami Zayn for good. Number 2. The Underdog's Resurgence. Breakker rolled to the outside, his face a mask of fury. He tore the top half of the steel steps off and attempted to bring them into the ring, but the referee intervened. That brief argument was the opening Sami desperately needed. As Breakker argued with the official, Sami gathered his senses and, using the ropes to pull himself up, launched a perfect drop kick to Breakker's knee. This was the turning point. Sami knew he could never overpower Breakker, but he could outthink him. He made Breakker's knee his singular target. Every opening, every chance he got, he attacked the leg. Breakker, who until now had seemed like an invincible monster, began to limp. His explosive speed was gone, and the devastating power behind his moves began to wane. The crowd was now a roaring sea of support for their champion. Chants of "Let's go Sami" thundered from the rafters. Feeding off this energy, Sami hit an incredible tornado DDT that planted Breakker face first on the mat. For the first time, the beast was truly grounded. Wasting no time, Sami locked in the Koji clutch. Breakker's eyes bulged, his face turning purple from the pressure. He clawed desperately for the ropes, his immense power failing him. For a moment, it looked like he would tap out, but his long reach finally allowed his fingertips to brush the bottom rope, forcing the break. The damage, however, was done. Breakker was now exhausted and in pain. Sami went for his signature exploder suplex into the corner, but Breakker blocked it. The two men now stood in the center of the ring, trading weary but heavy-handed blows. It was no longer a battle of styles. It was a battle of pure will. Sami then hit it the Blue Thunder Bomb. One of his most effective moves. He made the cover. 102. And Breakker kicked out. Now it was Sami's turn for disbelief. He had put everything into that move. He ran his hands through his hair in desperation as the crowd rose to its feet, chanting, "This is awesome." The match had officially become an instant classic. Number 3. The heart-stopping climax. Both superstars had pushed past their physical limits. The ring had become their battlefield. Breakker, summoning his last reserves of strength, lifted Sami for another military press. But this time he intended to throw him over the top rope to the floor. Sami fought his way free and scrambled to the top turnbuckle. As Breakker charged towards him, Sami met him with a kick to the face. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Sami positioned himself in the corner, setting up for the hell of a kick. The entire arena chanted "Ole" in unison with him. He charged forward with all his might and Breakker caught him in mid-air. He hoisted Sami onto his shoulders and hit a catastrophic power slam. This had to be it. No one could survive that. The referee's hand hit the mat, 102. And at 2.99, Sami Zayn's shoulder lifted a mere millimeter off the canvas. The arena exploded in a sonic boom of disbelief. Breakker, the referee, and even the commentators were left speechless. In a fit of rage and confusion, Breakker screamed at the official, tearing at his own hair, wondering what he had to do to put this man away. And in his moment of disbelief, he made a fatal error. He grabbed Sami, pulling him to his feet for one final spear, thinking it would be the final nail in the coffin. He charged forward like a freight train. But Sami, who had been playing possum, sidestepped at the very last nanosecond. Crash! Bron Breakker slammed headfirst into the corner, his skull colliding with the exposed steel of the turnbuckle that Sami had cleverly loosened earlier in the match. Chess move from a grandmaster. Breakker staggered back, dazed and disoriented, before collapsing to his knees. This was Sami's chance. Fueled by the roar of the crowd, He let out one final, defiant cry and sprinted across the ring. He delivered the most powerful, most meaningful, most perfect hell of a kick of his entire life right to the face of Bron Breakker. 1.2.3. The bell rang, and the arena erupted in pure, unadulterated joy. Sami Zayn had done the impossible. He was still the Intercontinental Champion, a hero's victory. Sami Zayn collapsed in the center of the ring, a heap of exhaustion and emotion. A mixture of sweat and tears streamed down his face as the referee handed him his championship title. He clutched it to his chest as if it were the most precious thing in the world. He was crying, but they were tears of triumph. He climbed the ropes and held the title high for the people who had believed in him, and they gave him an ovation reserved only for the truest of heroes. In the corner, Bron Breakker was slowly returning to his senses. The sting of defeat was on his face, but there was something new there as well, respect. He limped to his feet, stared across the ring at Sami Zayn, gave a slow, deliberate nod of acknowledgement, and left the ring. He had learned a valuable lesson that night. In wrestling, power isn't everything. On that night at SummerSlam 2024, Sami Zayn didn't just retain his title. He proved that when you have heart, courage, and the love of the people on your side, you can stand against the biggest storm and emerge victorious. It was a match that would be remembered for generations. It was the story of when heart defeated might.